you a preview of the artist tour.
July or August?
The preview is in July for three
Oh,
months, for 3 weeks. It stays at the
oh, the Kirstead House.
Kirstead House, and then the actual tour is in August.
That's great because my Polish cousin is coming on the 9th
Oh,
to the
well,
23rd, so I might be able to get them there.
definitely bring them.
What's the dates again?
Let me get Barbara and get the exact dates because I don't want to give you something that's not correct.
Oh, why not?
She'll be right back.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Hi, Skip.
Leslie is up in the Adirondacks teaching a writing workshop.
Oh,
And let me see who else is in here. Oh, yeah. Carol's off on vacation. And Mary's going to be a little bit late. I had her almost first on the agenda, but we can wait. She will be showing up. So, um, and we have some guests today. Um, so it's Lindsay Strahawe, is that correct?
Very
Strahawe?
close. Yeah, Strela
Oh,
Highway. Mhm.
okay. And she's from, you want to introduce yourself? She's from CCE,
Yeah.
and is going to take over where Anna started us last month. So, and then we also, Evelyn's back. She was out here last month describing where she could take over after we got all the resiliency tool and the vulnerability started. So, thank you for coming back. That's great. So, Mike, you want to make your announcement now and then we get
Um,
started?
yeah, the artist tour is August 8th and 9th, from 10 to 6. And the show is July 10th from 5 to 7.
What?
oh, just the one day?
No, then the opening is
July 10th, 5 to 7.
on the
Okay.
10th, and then they're open every weekend for the next 3 weekends.
What does this
Weekends
refer to,
only.
Mike?
Yes.
I missed-
So you can if you miss the opening on the 10th, you can still see the show through July.
On
I missed-
weekends only.
Weekends, basically. So a
Okay.
lot of people go to the market and then they go over there, walk over there afterwards. It's a nice afternoon.
Yeah.
I missed the opening. What does it refer to, Mike?
The artist tour
Oh, yes. Okay, good.
and the show.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, great. That's really great for
Okay,
start
my
these.
wife will love me and
You get points for that.
I get points.
Okay, so we'll have everybody attach the minutes to the announcement and agenda. Did anybody read them over and do you have any changes for that?
Those were amazing minutes. They were so comprehensive.
Okay. So do we have any changes?
No, I
So
don't.
do we approve? We want to approve them? Everybody wants to approve them? Say
Yes.
I
raise your
Aye,
hand.
aye, aye.
Opposed? That's good. Good, we're done with that. So like a welcome guest, Lindsay is here and Evelyn's here again. I don't see anybody else. So anyway, we're going to start with the Climate Smart Task Force issues. And first I had the CCAP with Mary, but she's going to be a little bit late. She's been delayed. So I can guess we can go into what's happening with the resiliency tool and the vulnerability assessment. Last month, Anna Herod McGrew came and explained how Cornell Cooperative Extension had funding to help communities out to re-up or establish their resiliency tools if they hadn't done so. I guess ours just needs to be re-upped. And then to go on to do a vulnerability assessment, also with a grand amount of help. It's really sometimes overwhelming looking job. But so that leadership to lead us through mentorship has been turned over to Lindsay. And I believe Will McCall, you're going to work as a team. So I invited Lindsay here to explain what might be on deck next for us in that process. So you're on, Lindsay.
Great. Thank you for having me. Yeah, just to give you some background, I work for Cornell Cooperative Extension in Columbia Green counties, but Ulster, Dutchess, and Columbia Green all work as a partnership to do resiliency projects together. So we're focusing in Ulster and Dutchess this year, doing vulnerability assessments and planning tools, as I'm sure Anna spoke about. I'll be your primary contact, so you'll see my face a lot, but Will is my coworker, so any support will be from him as well. But for moving forward, the planning tool section of it, next steps would be to meet with you guys on a separate occasion and fill out this questionnaire that we have. It's basically to establish a kind of a leadership team, which is going to lead us through this planning tool as well as the vulnerability workshop. So that'll include stakeholders like EME, EMS, coding, or code, not coding, you all, and others, as well as going through kind of a plan checklist, which I'm sure sounds familiar from doing a planning tool before. So once we get that done, we can set up a date for the planning tool meeting where all the stakeholders will be there. It'll be a longer meeting, but we'll go through the tool together and update anything that I could not find as an update. So yeah, in between that questionnaire meeting and the actual stakeholder planning tool meeting, I'll be doing my homework, doing the kind of basically a literature review of your plans from when you initially did your planning tool to update it as much as I can on my end. And then we'll fill in gaps together during that meeting. So that's the planning tool section. The other part is the vulnerability assessment. So again, using that questionnaire as kind of a foundation, we'll be inviting those stakeholders, including yourselves, to a vulnerability assessment workshop. That'll be held in September. We don't have an exact date yet. We have to talk to the venues. We have a couple presenters we want to bring to the table as well. But it'll be a few hours at the end of September. We'll be bringing all the municipalities that we're working with in Ulster together. I think it's 5 at one location. Do a presentation with you guys at the start, and then split up into individual municipalities where we'll go through a mapping exercise, looking at the vulnerabilities that you all have as well as strengths. And that'll also be fed by a survey that will ask you to promote. And we have set up. So once, again, we get that questionnaire, like short meeting, I can email you that survey. You can start posting that on social media to your community, flyers hanging in libraries, anything that would be useful for people, for the public to take. Yeah, so after the workshops, on the CCE end of things, we'll be putting all that information together, putting them into formulated templates that you can then use to submit for Climate Smart Community points, as well as just use as a good starting point or pieces for the adaptation plan. And that's kind of the bigger picture, as I'm sure Anna mentioned, is that we want to make the adaptation plans, and these are puzzle pieces for it. So these will fit very nicely into the adaptation plan template that we have, that we hopefully will get to finish with you in the end, hopefully in 2027. That was a lot of information I just threw at you, but I want to make sure it was clear. And if anybody has any questions about kind of the procedure going forward. See, Stephen has a question.
And you hear me? Okay, good.
Yes.
Besides flooding, what vulnerabilities can we identify for Socrates at the moment that are unique or special to Socrates, in that air pollution, atmospheric warming, and so forth cover everybody. But what are some examples of areas in which Socrates is particularly vulnerable or besides flooding is the one that comes to my mind.
Flooding usually is like number one on everybody's mind, but the other, hazards that are happening, I think across the board are going to be, drought, which I think everybody's experienced, well, particularly if nothing's been raised as far as like we're having a drought, but you can tell that the change in weather patterns is definitely apparent. So along with dry patches, you have heavy rains, downpours, which again influence the flooding, but the extreme storms, we're seeing an uptick in tornadoes, also in winter extreme storms. So there's across the board a lot of similarities in municipalities in this region because we're all very close together. So that'll be something that's on the survey for community members to actually identify. And then it's a survey that you all will take as well. So it'll be hazards, all the different hazards for climate weather changes and how important, or forget the word we used, or how much it affects you or in your community. So there's a range between like very influential to like not applicable at all. So if that was like, that would be, for an example, like coastal flooding kind of thing. But that's what we want to look at from the ground up. We do have at like CliMaid, if you're interested in looking at the state level, it's CLIMAID. CliMaid has a New York State level information. We'll be including that in the vulnerability assessment at the beginning to showcase, the bigger picture, but we'll be working our way down to the municipal level. So Saugerties, is much like the communities that we worked with in Columbia County who did this assessment, where all of the individual hazards are, apparent and happening. But what we want to know from you guys in this regard is on the community level, on the day-to-day, what are you experiencing? Because what we have is the data from above, but we want to know from the ground up what you all are experiencing, what's been the most impactful for change. It sounds like flooding probably is on the top of the list.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
drought.
Catastrophic rainstorms
Yeah.
would be, we happen to be kind of on a hill, so flooding it doesn't hit us as much at this altitude, but catastrophic rainstorms, very much so.
So I have a question. I know I saw your agenda and it's pretty packed as it probably always is. I can share my screen just to show you the questionnaire and see if it's something if you can fill out today with me on this meeting, or we can schedule something. I can reach out to Skip and put something on the calendar for something very soon, but maybe it's 30 minutes just to go through the questionnaire and to give you an idea of what those questions look like. Are you seeing
I could do that, but I don't
we
think we have 3 minutes.
I think we should look at it now, but perhaps fill it out later.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good. I'll reach out to Skip to set up a time. Again, it should only take like, I think, half an hour.
Okay, so we have to do this together online?
It would be ideal unless you know enough information. It's in the experience that we've had, it's to have a collective brain all together to fill out this information. But let's go through it just real fast and see if it is approachable for maybe it is just one person that I talk to and we fill in the gaps through email. So the municipal staff stakeholders that we'll need for these meetings are the supervisor, emergency services, highway, fire, police, code enforcement.
Okay, these are just, you want to collect information on names of people who you'd like
Correct.
to be at a thing. We're not
Yeah.
contacting these people now, we're just
We're just collecting the information.
Okay.
Yep. And then I will be contacting them, maybe CCing somebody on there just as like a gateway kind of intro.
Okay.
But yeah. And then another section, again, for information gathering are any community stakeholder groups, including watershed groups, beautification groups, any kind of community activism would be ideal. Another section is the local plan knowledge. So again, this is going to be a section of the planning tool, but if we could go through that, and then I can do my basic literature review, just to update what I already have from you guys. That's just the checklist for the plans. And then I think that's the last section is distribution method for the survey that I was referring to. And just how that might look in Socrates. That would be best for paper, website, social media, and how your community functions in that kind of communication realm.
So can you email me this so that
Yeah.
I'll pre-gather some information. We might have to
Perfect.
search some of this out and then we can get together to fill it out. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that's perfect. I'll send you an email with the questionnaire, and then I will go ahead and throw in some dates and times that will work for me. Um, just as preemptive. We just want to kind of get things rolling because once the first domino falls with stakeholders, we want to keep the momentum going. As I'm sure you know, getting police and fire and EMS together all at once is not an easy task.
Right. It's just
So,
that
yeah,
right now I'll have to gather. I don't know the emails offhand, nor sometimes the individuals either.
right.
So if I have that, we have that together beforehand, then when we meet, we'll have it at hand and won't be a surprise to.
Yeah, that sounds great. And would you like me to also send you I have a flyer for the survey already made. I can just email that to you in advance.
Sure.
You guys can go ahead and take it, distribute it as you like.
Yep, can you send the survey to all of us?
Yes. I think on the email that Skip sent me, everybody's on there.
Be helpful to
Yes.
see it
Yeah.
Yeah,
individually.
Linda, Bill, actually.
Yeah, there's some extra people on there that probably don't need it. Um, why don't you send it to me and I'll send it on?
Okay, that sounds good. Perfect. All right. And then I will, keep everybody abreast of any updates for the workshop dates that will be in September, most likely end of September, like week of the 21st or the following week.
And at this point, the people that we're writing down here on this survey are the people you're going to contact to get
Mhm.
together for this workshop.
Yes,
So,
for the planning tool meeting and for the workshop.
okay, so what's the planning tool meeting? That is,
Yep, that's going to be, we'll have to see what works for everybody. So once I get that information, connect with the stakeholders as well as you guys.
will,
Mhm,
will that be the same group of people for the resiliency tool as for
mhm.
the workshop? It's the same bunch.
Same bunch, ideally. It's always a case where we're not going to get everybody.
Okay.
But ideally we'll get as many of those people as possible. The difference will be the workshops will also include community group uh, in general. Any representation of vulnerable groups would be good as well. Um, and then we'll also incorporate that survey. So public opinion will also be incorporated by the survey representation.
And that survey you want us to start now.
If possible, if you feel more comfortable going through the questionnaire first, looking at the methods of distribution, feel free to do that. We can, give the green light after we do that for survey distribution. But if possible, if you already, it seemed like you have a outreach plan pretty well thought out. I saw in one of your documents you had attached to the email that was like a kind of method already sussed out. So, our go-to is usually library posting some physical flyers, town halls are usually physical, and then social media, digital, Facebook, digital, community boards, digital, and then any handouts for the survey. It has a QR code, so if you have farmer markets or events that you could table at, that would be a perfect place to just put one flyer out. People can do the QR code and take the survey on their phone.
Okay. All right. I see someone else has joined us, Claudia's iPad. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I will try. Oh, I'm not muted?
No, you're not muted.
Okay, great. Hi, you know me, I'm Dia. And I have a question when there's an appropriate time. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. So you're going to send that information along, and we'll go from there.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So then, related to this is Hudson Valley Regional Council with Evelyn, who's probably going to pick up this ball after we get all that done and move with it with Linda. So you two have talked. You want to explain what you've discussed? You're muted, Linda.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll let Evelyn do most of the talking. She's a little bit more articulate and much more informed about what we're doing. But basically looking at the greenhouse gas survey. Did I say that correctly? And for government and for the community and other stuff. I'll let Evelyn take it from there.
Yeah, so the first step that I did was just looking through all the actions that Socrates has completed either in the past or had potentially like marked as planned, or things that you've talked about, like a lot of tree related stuff that you will have done in the next few years. And just looked at actions that are going to be expiring that'll need to be updated, and what actions are still going to be good, like in 2029 when you are going to be wanting to resubmit. And then Linda and I worked on just mapping out which actions make the most sense to start working on now. And we picked the government operations greenhouse gas inventory, which is going to involve a lot of data collection. And then the community greenhouse gas inventory is actually pretty simple to do because Hudson Valley Regional Council has a spreadsheet that already has all of the data, and it's really just about taking that data and putting it into a report. So Linda and I are going to work on that probably towards the end of the summer, and then we'll dive deeper into the government operations greenhouse gas inventory probably in the fall, but we're just getting that all set up. And there's plenty of time. The certification lasts for 5 years, so we have lots of time to work on these things. So we're just going to start getting some of these more tedious ones out of the way, and then in the next couple of years we can start working on other actions.
Yeah, that's nice. There's nothing that has to be done right now. So we're getting ahead of ourselves, which is good. You know, we're getting ahead of the game.
Great. Very good. All right. Mary's here. We're going to talk about the CCAP. We voted to send the copy we had, the version we had in, but Mary discovered a couple of little things she wants to change. And I sent that as the revisions, and then also the completed form, including those revisions. So if anybody has any questions about it, you want to introduce that, Mary?
Yeah, just very briefly. Essentially, there were a couple, based on the discussion at the last meeting, and particularly some recommendations that Stephanie, or suggestions rather, that Stephanie had made regarding the CCAP. I added those changes to the document. Essentially, Stephanie had mentioned putting in the document that the final adopted climate action plan, community climate action plan, would be posted on the town website. So that's now in there. The other suggestion, also very good, in the summary, we talked about the 3 areas, the 3 sectors rather, that we would be looking at to reduce emissions from. She suggested that we leave that section of the summary by saying the reason we were picking those three sectors was because they emitted the greatest amount of emissions. So those were kind of two areas. The other area was when we talked at the last meeting, we had recommended that the town board appoint someone to implement the plan, and we changed that based on discussions to say the town board. The recommendation is the town board appoint person/persons, so that it's not just that it's clear. It's just not one person. And the other two changes were simply I put draft before the implementation plan. It talked about the CAC would make public and do outreach for the plan, and I made specifically for the draft plan. So those were basic. I think those were actually the three or four or five small changes that were made to the plan. And so at this point, if there's any questions or anything else that bears discussion or addition or deletion, hear ye.
Right. So would anybody like to comment on this? Can we just accept those changes as presented, or does anybody want to make comment?
I think we should accept them as presented.
We should make a motion to accept them.
Okay. All in favor of accepting them? Raise
Aye.
your hand. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. So
Thank
we'll
you.
take this.
Thank you. I will send, I know the document that went out had not been converted exactly to a PDF, but I do have it now as a PDF. So if you looked at it and you saw that front page looking a little weird with the town seal off to the side, off to the, I think it was the right or the left. Anyway, it was not in a final PDF form. So that will go, I'll send that to Skip in a PDF form, and that can go to the town board for adoption. I did want to make one comment going forward with the CSC. In terms of the inventory for the Community Climate Action Plan, we have that data from 2022, and that is in the plan that we're recommending to the town board going forward. So that's fortunately, and thank you so much to the Ulster County Department of the Environment, who got us that data, who gave us the inventory, and also to New York State, to the DEC, who gave us the inventory back in 2010. The tricky part going forward, I might say, is that for the government facilities inventory, we all worked on that, and we had one gal, you may remember, Patty Kelly, who worked extensively on that inventory. That was something that we as a CAC and as a task force put together. So we're really going to need some help getting that data for the government facilities, the inventory for the government facilities. So going forward, I would hope that either through the DEC or Ulster County Department of the Environment, we can get that data, because I think it would be really, really challenging for the task force to put that data together going forward.
So could Lindsay or Evelyn comment on that? Is that something that you would have availability or ability to get?
Lindsay and I believe already had approached that subject, and it's down the road. Am I correct, Lindsay?
Do you mean Evelyn?
Oh, Evelyn, I'm sorry. Evelyn.
Yeah, you're good. I think
The other name with the E's in it, yeah.
yeah, I think she just jumped off.
Okay,
to see
yeah,
it in
but
the
yeah,
chat.
it's something we've already broached, and we know the road that we're going down, Mary. So
you do have accessibility somewhere with that.
we don't know. Well, that's down the road. We know what needs to be done.
Okay. All right.
Mary, does this document go to the county? Are you going to send this to the county now?
Our document, our climate action plan,
Yeah.
our community climate. No, that will go, the procedure will be that the final document as a PDF will go to the town board as a recommendation for adoption. So no, we do not send it to county. No.
Once it adopted, would it go? I mean, shouldn't they know what we're doing?
Well, I think the way they would know what they're doing, and I think this is going to come up later in the discussion, is through the EMCs, through the Ulster County Environment
Okay.
Management Council.
Mhm.
I think through Carol. I know one of the issues is for the August meeting is to talk about accomplishments, and I think certainly this has been an accomplishment for the CAC that could be talked about. And certainly, kudos, actually, I'm repeating myself, I said it before, but kudos to Ulster County for
Yes.
giving us that inventory. And I think they should know how appreciative we are that we got that data. And if we hadn't gotten that data, that was the impetus to do the Community Climate Action Plan, because we had the data. So let's do the plan. So yeah, to your point, Mike, yeah, they should know that that was very, very helpful for the CAC and for the task force.
Okay, great. Congratulations. Thank you so much,
Thanks.
Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
Really, really a lot.
Well, thank all of you for your proofreading and going through all this process with me. It's been good. Thank you.
So this next section, the town liaison, it has to do with the disaster preparedness training that Bill and Ken went to, and also the drinking water source protection plan. And I put this close to the resiliency tool and the vulnerability assessment, because if they might relate somehow, I think that might be a good conjunction of efforts there. So I don't know if they will or they won't, but so Bill can he was going to lay out what the disaster preparedness training was about, and also the drinking water protection plan. So
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
all right. So do you have any knowledge of that, Lindsay?
I definitely know about the trainings and the drinking water protection plans, but not your municipalities particularly. So very interested to hear how that training was and what the plan is for the drinking water protection.
Right. I just thought it might relate, and when
Yeah.
we're doing that vulnerability study, especially.
Absolutely.
See, okay. So, Bill, you're on.
Okay, thank you. So yes, Ken and I attended it June 5th. It was held at the Department of Health headquarters. Presentations were made by the Cornell Cooperative Extension, Anna Herod McGraw, the Red Cross, Department of Health, and the Emergency Management Services of Ulster County. They started out by pointing out that Ulster County is the fourth highest county in New York State in the incidence of severe weather events over the last 28 years. Who knew? Why we'd be any higher than anybody else? Of course, they're talking about extreme temperatures, both heat and cold, floods, and storms, snowstorms, as well as the occasional tornado or whatever we have. They began by talking about communications. One of the first things is to let people know how to be informed. That came up for me. I mean, how do the people of Socrates know if we're declaring an emergency? We have the website, our Facebook page, text messages, TV, and radio, but sometimes the power and cell comms are out. So, how do we communicate to the people of the town then? I'm kind of rushing to the end of it, but I'll just bring this up now. Somebody suggested encouraging people to have battery-powered radio. We have a few ham radio operators around. When all that fails, we have the police department go door to door and tell people. I forgot to mention fire is another climate emergency if we happen to have a fire. Then they talked about shelters. We have the town hall, senior center, and ice rink. Usually the town hall is the first one to be announced. And although the entrances are locked at 4, there's always access, as Ken pointed out so well, through the police department, which is open 24 hours a day. The importance of a good emergency management plan was stressed, and an emergency management team. Now I checked with Fred on that. We have in the past designated an emergency management team, which is of course Fred, probably Greg Torvis, but mostly the police department, the chief of police and another lieutenant probably. And the emergency management plan needs to be updated. For the county executive, and for the town supervisor are the only ones that can declare an emergency, have authority to declare that, and direct emergency coordination and operations. The town may request assistance from the county if our resources are exhausted. Here's where we get now to a vulnerability assessment is the first step in planning. So Anna looked at me when she talked about that and pointed out that we're going to be doing that for Socrates. And that's certainly an important input into our emergency management plan. Finding out who in the population are the most vulnerable. They suggested using the tax rolls to look at income. Also, the Red Cross is, oh no, I'm getting ahead of myself. Turns out, actually, Central Hudson has a list of vulnerable populations of people who may need help if the power goes out. Then they talked about the assistance from the Red Cross. Red Cross must be requested by an authoritative source, hopefully in our case, the town supervisor. They pointed out that it has to be a verified authoritative source. They don't want to waste important time where they could be responding, trying to figure out if the request came from somebody with authority. They did give us requirements for shelters, the number of people, the size of the shelter, how many restrooms you need per certain X number of people, some guidance for showers. And they said they will assist us in setting up shelters and training, also provide food, blankets, cots, resources like that in the shelters if we need them. Then I'm just going to go through this real fast. The Department of Health emphasized the importance of hygiene, cleaning in shelters. They said something I wasn't aware of when they talked about disinfectants. Disinfectants have they're all required apparently to have something called a dwell time listed on each disinfectant on the label. And I think, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong about this, it has to do with how much time the agent has to be on the surface.
Yes, that's right.
To clean it. Yeah.
Yes. How long you have to leave it on the surface before rubbing it off.
They also talked about the importance of preventive behavior and the importance of air quality in a shelter. And by the way, they gave us a pretty good size HEPA air filter, which is going to be given to Greg Chorvis to put in a shelter for when we ever need that. Pointed out that an air exchange rate of his target of complete air exchange, 5 air exchanges per hour. And that's apparently listed on the heating cooling system, that rate. So then we had an exercise, and what I got out of the exercise is I said we need to update our emergency response plan and our emergency response team. I don't know if we have a continuity of operations plan for the town. Important thing, never thought of. In the event of an emergency, we need to have a debris management plan, a debris disposal plan in place. Also, they emphasize the importance of having draft messages in place, and pointed out that emergency orders should have an expiration date so that people know when that particular message expires. So that's a summary of what was given to us. I told the town I would provide a list of recommendations I got from it and provide that to the town board. The Cornell Cooperative Exchange also has a real cool booklet they've developed for municipal leaders. And we're going to get copies of that for the town board as well. So that's a summary. Of welcome to answer any questions you may have on that.
Bill, is there coordination with the village government? I mean, are there ways, possibility where citizens of the village would fall through the cracks?
Well, that's certainly something to look at. I mean, the police force serves both the village and
Yes.
the town. So I should think that would serve to help. But, you know, the mayor also declares an emergency in the village. And just like with the water, which gets into the water emergencies, that's coordinated with the town.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't ask that question. I'm just saying I assume there would be coordination.
Stephen?
I never thought about shelters. Is there a way to decide what capacity Saugerties should have? Percent of population or something? How do we figure out?
You know, that's a good question. And I think the vulnerability assessment may lead to that. We find out. Certainly that could be an output from the vulnerability assessment.
That could work for flooding, but it wouldn't work for, say, tornado or.
Yeah.
Because you never know where that would hit.
And we don't really have tornado shelters that I'm aware of.
No, I mean, if a tornado went through and it wiped out all the houses on the street, but it wouldn't. Gosh, it's just hard to figure out what Saugerties should plan for. I don't know.
Lindsay, would that be covered in a vulnerability assessment?
So go ahead.
Would that be covered in the question he's asking?
Mhm.
What's the capacity? Is that one of the topics that might be covered in that?
Tornadoes or shelters?
No, capacity of shelters.
Yep. So we'll be looking at where these shelters currently are, putting that on the map, and seeing if there is a gap. Part of the planning tool, I believe, also covers that as well. But this is going to feed into the adaptation plan, which is going to then result in recommendations, which would be the next step to implementation. So this is, you can think of the vulnerability assessment as information gathering for the recommendations. So we'll see where it might be very apparent once we get into it. Like you have Saugerties and there's one shelter and your most vulnerable population for flooding doesn't have a shelter nearby. It might be that visible. So it's, yeah, I guess the bottom line is vulnerability assessment, gathering information in order to make recommendations. The recommendations come with the adaptation plan, which would be next year.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's always seemed to me that the only sheltered place I know of, I've heard about, is the town hall, but that's obviously the capacity there is limited. Mm-hmm. And my impression is that it's used for heat emergencies, but of course there are other emergencies too. And I think it is important to look at other possibilities for shelters, mm-hmm. for various kinds of emergencies. We had an earthquake a couple of years ago, but luckily those were transient. I mean, you know, there's never been a long emergency that happened in Katrina so let's hope that doesn't happen here.
Yeah, I believe we've used the senior center,
yes,
as a shelter in the past.
Center, yes.
And there is, of course, the ice rink.
Oh, the
And,
ice.
it's not always full of ice.
Hmm.
We'll have to plan our emergencies around that.
Yeah.
Even in the summer.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Thanks. And that does coordinate somewhat with the assessment and especially the adaptation thing that may come next year.
Right.
So we'll have to keep that in mind.
Mhm.
So we go on to the drinking water source protection. That seems to be underway.
Yeah, you should have, Skip, you should have received an email about that today.
I don't know that I did. And
This afternoon.
uh-huh. I
That's
didn't
okay. You probably hadn't had a chance to look at it.
see what I got here. And what was in that email?
Well, it came from Laura Buyer. Well, let me just go into it, okay?
Yeah, I'm looking. I don't see it here.
Okay, the town and village received a technical support award from New York State to do a drinking water support protection plan. That provides us with technical assistance, and we're getting that from Buyer and Planning, which is Laura Buyer, and we're getting it from Haley Gallo, from who's a hydrologist from Labella Associates. There'll be several phases of it. Plan preparation. I think that's probably been done. I can't guarantee that. We're now in the plan development stage, though, which comes next. The technical assistance is helping us provide drinking water source protection maps. A stakeholder group has been formed. CAC is a stakeholder, and Skip Arthur is mentioned. And the email you should have gotten today from Laura should have asked you to respond with either saying you will attend or who you will appoint to attend in your place. Those meetings will, first meeting it will probably be mid-July. There will be monthly meetings of about an hour in duration for 8 months to start doing a plan. They'll begin developing a plan. In that, then, visions and goals will be formulated, an inventory of potential contamination sources for our drinking water. By the way, the drinking water map, protection map, is a maps around our drinking water and all the places that provide water to those sources. And the goal is then to protect them and prevent them from, protect them from pollutants, protect them from, in some cases, maybe development that will prevent the replenishment of those drinking water sources. So it will help the town in our visions and our goals for source water. We'll identify potential contaminant sources and develop complete drinking water source protection maps, identify protection and management methods, and then develop an implementation timeline. And then we'll finalize the plan, and plan and implementation will be up to us with assistance from the technical assistants. But a lot of that will depend on the town. And so that's basically it. That's what I've got so far. They did do a tour of which I missed last week. The stakeholders did a tour of the Blue Mountain water, reservoir, yeah. And I assume they'll look at we have a lot of other drinking water management areas too.
So those are the management areas, are the areas that supply the reservoir.
Yeah,
as I understood it.
Well, the water
the only
district. What I'm talking about is there's water districts. the other water districts separate from the reservoir. There's Glasgow, Malden,
Mhm.
Right,
all the
but
water district, Kings Highway District, and
right, but the source for that is all the same.
is
Is
it the
that-
Plattekill?
It's the Blue Mountain Reservoir, I believe.
Yeah,
So
I think there's one district that might have some private company supplying them.
Right.
But those districts all come from the village reservoir.
Okay.
Mary has her hand up.
Yeah, as I understand this, or my question really is, what about those who are on private wells? What, is there any, as I understand this, this would be for municipal source, so folks
That's
should get,
correct.
but for folks who are on private wells, this does not include any protection for those homeowners.
I don't think so. I think it's just municipal sources.
That's what I thought.
Okay, any other questions?
And one final thing, it doesn't, as we talked earlier, it doesn't go to the aquifers, protection of the aquifer.
Well, that, that would seem, I don't know, that would seem to be a source of drinking water, certainly.
Absolutely.
But that's, as I understood it,
That's not Blue Mountain, though, is it?
No.
as I understood it is that it only investigated current source, municipal source areas, which I believe is the only one that we have is the Blue Mountain Reservoir, other than private wells.
Doesn't the drinking water, the municipal drinking water come from the aquifer other than the reservoir?
I don't believe so.
That's something I don't know for sure, Skip. It's certainly the Plattekill Creek, but I don't know.
Okay.
Well, the thought was that if there was potential, like the potential for the aquifer under the Winston Farm and all that, that could be investigated. But I thought it had to be currently used as a municipal source, which certainly that aquifer is being used by private sources, as Mary brought to bear. But if it doesn't cover that, investigation of that, so that would be something to find out. I mean,
It is. And what if we, when the water level gets low, what if we continue to have droughts?
right,
Do we need to look at other sources?
right. But anyway, I guess the question is there technical help right now limited to the sources that we are using right now and not potential other sources? I think the answer to the question was no, which was disappointing, but we should find out that for sure.
But just to drill down on that, the water that is used through the municipal system. So for those folks who get their water through the municipal system and they get their water bill and all of that, is it just for that segment, or does it go beyond that in terms of what I was asking, protection for folks who have, private wells, if there's any provision?
Okay. Let me look into it.
Thank you.
Okay, so is there any other questions about that? I'll look for that email. I just looked at my email list and I didn't see it there. So
Okay.
she's sending me information about the times and
Okay.
places for the meetings. Is that what they?
Well, it's just to identify who is going to be
Okay.
a stakeholder from the CAC. The
Okay.
CAC has been highlighted in a couple of emails about importance of being on
I
this.
saw one, but I didn't see one today. So, okay.
So I can forward it to you if you still, you can't find it.
All right.
It's on the distribution list.
Okay. I'll get back to you after the.
Okay.
May I ask a question?
Claudia, what's the question?
Yeah, I would really appreciate if you would look into, it's my understanding that there's something that KCE is calling a pond underneath the proposed battery storage site, which is actually a lead into the aquifer. So um, I would appreciate you looking into that along with your concern about contaminants for drinking water.
You said KCE is talking about a pond? Was that what you said?
KCE has a body of water labeled as a pond on their site, which
Yeah.
we're working on hydrology, but and I'm not a hydrologist, but my understanding is it's more than a pond and it actually connects to the aquifer. And so obviously if there was any kind of fire or explosion event, that connection to the aquifer would put the water at risk. So I'm just bringing that to your attention in the hopes that you will look further into it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mary?
Just to follow up on that point, I did not have a chance. I just perused the EAF, and I did notice at one point there was a section where that there is an aquifer. Somehow, I don't know if the word was on. I probably shouldn't bring this up because I'm really not clear about it. But whether the question in my mind is whether or not there is an aquifer that's going to be or could be impacted by BESS, which is, I think, maybe what Claudia is getting to.
Yes.
So is that in the EAF?
It was in the EAS.
Yeah, there's a section on water
On water,
in
right?
there.
Right.
So it will, if it's in the EAF, then it will be addressed.
Yes, they have to.
Right. So, Claudia, I think that's where it's going to be addressed right there. I mean, we could certainly look at it through the drinking water protection thing, but I believe the drinking water protection thing only relates to the Blue Mountain Reservoir. That's unfortunate, I believe, because there's other reservoirs that we could use in the future. But as the program's set up, I think that's what it's limited to. So, Claudia, it might be that as it's in the EAF, then it's going to be addressed through those means. And they have.
That'd be great. Thank you for the clarity.
Okay, great. All right, great. All right. So anybody have any questions about the drinking water protection or anything? How are you? Okay.
Have you identified who's going to represent?
I haven't yet. I thought maybe Ken. Are you listening, Ken?
I am listening, of course.
So you have a lot of interest you've in the past expressed a lot of interest in the Drinking Water Protection Act. Would you volunteer to be that representative for the CAC?
It depends on when the meetings are going to be. I have several library organizations that I have to attend meetings for. So if you can find out when the meetings will be, then I can see if I'm free.
Great. I really appreciate it. It would be really
Sure.
great. Especially
Sure.
since you had interest in it before you submitted.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. Okay, done with drinking water protection. Now we're going to talk about BESS a little bit. So Bill, as a member of the town board, had requested us to investigate some things about BESS. And what we identified first it seemed the most highest on the list was the safety issue. And also, even to get the cart before the horse, why are we even considering BESS? I mean, what is the use of BESS? What's the utility of BESS? So we came up mostly with Steve's research with two informational reports, which I attached to the notification. And the utility goes over just as a quick thing is that, the idea of the grid as this, speaking of reservoirs of electricity has to be kept in balance. And it's a very difficult thing. And BESS can help do that because it can moderate what comes in and comes out. It can absorb electricity if there's too much on the grid and put it out if it's not. That in general helps the ISO, but also it enables renewables to be better used on the grid because of their variability and availability of electricity. So it enables, it itself certainly isn't a source of renewable energy, but it is an absorber of what's on the grid. So if more's on the grid, that is this cheaper, cleaner commodity, a BESS helps that be on the grid and helps the balance out. And it's not just the one in Saugerties. This is a network like they've done in Texas and California of BESS to balance out the grid. So that's a real important thing, and also, these peaker plants, when there is not enough energy in the July when everybody comes home and turns on their air conditioners, they've got to have these BESS to make up the difference. I mean, peaker plants to make up the difference. And they have to stay idling, and they're pretty inefficient, old, and pretty dirty source of power. So if those can be replaced by BESS, that's another point that makes them really a great thing for the grid. So all those things. Now that's the reason why, but that doesn't negate the idea that they have to be a safe development in anybody's community. So we went on, and again, Stephen did a lot of research about the safety issue, because there's a lot of things in the newspaper, the press about these disastrous fires here and there. But looking into it more, overall, it seems that they are the outliers, and with people learning from those incidents, from increase in technology, of the batteries, the upgrading of the manufacturing standards, with the increase in the code, the strictness of the codes, the actual incidents of fires and like that are very low, actually. 0.6%, 0.6%. So those things were kind of gone over in larger proportion in these two studies. Now, the studies are requested by the town board. They are not the lead agencies. So these are informational reports, and they are information just to give a background or a backdrop for BEST, to look at it in the overall picture. So that's what we've created there. I've attached it. People can look at that. And since the seeker process is going to be a separate entity, because this goes to the town board, which is not the lead agency. So this doesn't speak to the seeker process, but the overall usefulness of BEST. Ken has his hand up.
Yeah, I have two hands up. I have the imaginary hand up and I have my real hand up. Skip, in everything I read, including the material that Stephen has gathered, and he's done a wonderful job, they talk about the batteries not being connected to, in the general sense, the actual generating equipment like solar cells, solar arrays, and so on. But if the batteries simply store and don't generate, which they don't, then something has to be generating the electricity that then gets stored in the BESSes. And don't they have to be near each other in some way? Or do the BESSes get connected to Central Hudson and energy goes from the generating locations to Central Hudson, which then gets sent to the BESSes? What goes on right now when the planning board has approved solar arrays, like in the toward Woodstock, in that area? When it's generated there, does it go to Central Hudson, or does it go to a battery center, or what?
So think of the grid. This is the grid. Think of the grid as a reservoir. It gets filled up. You want to keep it at a level. Some people use it. It drops down a little bit. You want to put a little bit more in. The BESSes are connected to that reservoir. They're not connected. Well, in some cases, there's two kinds. This utility grade, and then there's other commercial things that are associated with solar arrays. So there's two different ways they can, or there's more than two different ways, but those are basically two different ways they are used. In this case, what they're talking about for putting in Saugerties, KCE, is something that's connected right to the grid, right to that reservoir of electrons. And it can, in times of uh, mass production, even overproduction, it can take energy off that grid, out of that reservoir, and store it. And then when the reservoir drops and the ISO says, hey, we need some energy, it can put energy back into that reservoir, keeping the level at that critical rate that has to do. That's kind of an analogy you can look at.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be near
No.
a generating location.
No, it has to be near a connection to the grid.
Okay.
A connection to that reservoir, and it takes water or electrons, I should say, in and out of that reservoir and keeps the reservoir at the desired depth.
Okay, let me just throw something in that doesn't pertain to this exactly, but is related to it. The company that I got my solar array from, which was one of those from Solarized Saugerties, thank you very much, CAC. They are advertising that people can now buy arrays for their rooftop or their ground level and a battery to store rather than send the energy that's generated to
Yes.
Central Hudson. So
Yes.
I got in touch with them and I asked, I already have an array, how much would it cost me as an ordinary person to have a battery installed in my house and connected up? So I simply keep the energy that my array generates and don't have to worry about Central Hudson for that. As long as I have enough in the battery. And it is between $12,000 and $15,000 to put it in and to do the connections. If there was some way of making that more reasonable, again, I'm talking generally for the purpose of cutting down on electrical use or other things, the way the state supported and the government supported getting solar arrays in the first place, individuals who have arrays but didn't get the battery at the time, it wasn't available, might be interested in getting the battery as well, because over time that's going to save a lot of money. Not for me, I'm too old for that. But for people who have time, I still pay, even if I don't use more electricity than I generate, I still pay delivery. So
Yes.
every month I have to pay delivery whether I use any of Central Hudson's electricity or not. So just throwing that out, that if there was any way for the state or in future a more useful, compassionate federal government to support this sort of thing, then that might help in general for people who have arrays and are not just getting it from one of these big arrays that is sharing what they have, what they generate.
That's true. Well, as soon as we get an administration that's friendly again towards Saugerty, so it's the solar, and to those we can reinstate the tax rebates and things that have been taken
Yeah,
away.
exactly.
So
They were very
that's a
helpful.
whole different thing. I mean,
It is,
there's different
but-
levels of best. That's like the basic level of that is
Correct.
the same thing, best, and it goes from there to commercial. And there's going to be zoning that allows that. Actually, there's no zoning for that right now. So they're working on zoning for all. There's going to be 3 or 4 tiers
Right.
best. And the highest one, the lowest one is on your house, that's before the meter, and then there's after the meters. And as they get bigger, there'll be different zoning requirements up to the industrial that we're talking about now from KCE. But yes, that is true. And I experienced the same thing when I asked about it too. It's too bad the tax incentives have been taken away.
Yep.
So, Bill,
I just
you
wanted to
had
throw
Yeah,
that
I
out. Thank
wanted-
you.
I was going to partly say what you just said, Skip, that you're not permitted to have a battery storage unit on your house. In Saugerties, there's no zoning for that right now.
They're working on that zoning.
Exactly.
Right.
The other thing I want to mention, the reservoir metaphor is a great metaphor, but there's one difference. There's no reservoir in the grid, and that's the problem. The ICO has to match the energy production with the demand, second to second, microsecond to microsecond. And that really helped me to understand the utility of a battery energy storage system. It provides some elasticity in the system, in the
Yes.
grid, that doesn't presently exist.
Right.
That's all.
Any other observations? I mean, we could send these to, again, these are informational reports. They're just, Bill, is this kind of what you were aiming for?
Yeah, yeah, it is. And thank you for mentioning that the lead agency is the planning board.
Right.
And I've talked to people on the planning board, and they are looking at this. They're giving it a really hard look. I mean, I'm sure the information you guys provide is great. They're going to generate a lot of information and on their own to answer these critical issues. So just
Yes, and in that sense, I didn't really put this on the agenda, but it kind of leads into that where we go from here in our suggestions, or there was suggestions that we actually push for a pause deck right away. But in talking to Dylan and other people, this is in the middle of the EAF, the environmental assessment
mhm.
part of the seeker process. And part one is where the applicant uh, describes the project, the location, the acreage, existing land uses, resources, utilities, and that. Part two goes where the lead agency has a form and that is like a checklist about what will have impacts and what don't. I sent that along to everybody. That's available to anyone. And there's a checklist there that they check off, like this is going to have an impact. You have to respond to this. And the back and forth that's happening is it's got to be, it's not, although the checklist is pretty simple, the responses, they're really holding their feet to the fire with the responses. And that's why there's so much back and forth. And all the information isn't in there yet. After all the information comes, they evaluate all the information, they'll go to part three. That is collating all that information and assessing the overall, the magnitudes of the impacts, the duration, the probability, the geographic scope, the cumulative impacts. And that makes the assessment, that guides them into making an either negative or positive declaration. If it's going toward a negative declaration, which would mean seeker would stop, a public hearing is opened up. At that point, I mean, all this information, it's researchable right now, and we can see what they've covered, how they've covered it, and determine whether we think that that's adequate. And we can make comment on whether that adequacy, relative in our case to, the environment, and try to, if we think it's not adequate and a negative declaration and it hasn't been covered, the things haven't been covered, we can make statements in. If it's a positive declaration, it automatically goes on to the scoping document and to the creation of an EIS. So that shows us where we stand within the thing. So holding off on the pushing the POSDEC, let's let the planning board, which is the lead agency, complete its gathering of information. We can also put information in now. I know, talking to Dylan, that there are other people, including Liz and some other people, have been feeding them information, which they are covering. An example is the emergency response plan, which didn't seem accurate, was pushed out to the thing. They are holding their feet to the fire and making them do a current plan relative to the thing. Now, also, you have to see that what's being covered under seeker is only environmental things. I brought up an emergency response plan. That isn't actually covered under seeker. That's covered under finding compliance with local codes. So even if there was a POSDEC, an emergency response plan wouldn't be considered in that POSDEC because it's not under the environmental aspects that seeker covers. So there are a couple levels of things that are being investigated. You know, the environmental aspect under seeker is something that's in the review state, and facts are being gathered. If we see something that we think should be brought up, we can enter then. If we want to wait, we can look at the part three and where they go with the POSDEC negative and see if we want to comment there. So there's a lot of opportunities to be involved. So, Mike, you have your hand up.
Yeah, Skip. I think it's important, and I think it's come up with this, is that the material, our charge is to be an advisory committee to the town. That's our main charge. So all of the material that Stephen and others have put together is well within our capacity and well within our responsibility to send on to the town board, and I'm glad that it's going. It is important, I think, for us to remain separate from the seeker process as it unfolds. We shouldn't be interacting with the lead agency. Let them do their work. At a certain point, if there's a positive declaration, just like with the Winston Farm, the CAC has a response, would then, I would suspect, be an interested party. And at that point, we would interact with the seeker process. So I think it's important. That's why I kind of was pushing not to make public statements ahead of the lead agencies, to stay in our zone. And I think we've done that. So I'm really happy that Stephen's work is moving on to the town board. And at some point, some of those issues might be relevant within the seeker process. I don't know.
Is there any other comment on this? Okay.
Yep,
Well,
I think you gave a very good presentation of all of this. And Mike wrapped it up and where we stand. So,
okay. Okay. I think we still might. I mean, if we get involved in the POSDEC part,
Mhm.
you know, there might be a gray area if the neg deck is proposed,
that's right.
and there might want to be comment there as an interested party. But generally, you know, I agree with you. So, okay. All right. Thank you so much, Stephen. We really went,
Really,
we went over this over and over to make it.
And a good
See.
learning experience.
Stephen is an amazing resource.
Right, really. Okay. All right, so I'll send those on to the town board. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Stephen is held in high regard by the town board.
Yes.
Okay, so EMC, Carol can't be here. So I sent out her report from the EMC for you to look at rather than me recite it and, you just look at it and go over it. It's just informational. And she apologizes, but that's her report. It's a pretty good report. So you can just read that. That's all. We don't really need any comment on it or anything. So we're at the tree ordinance. And Nicole sent me an example of a different application form, which might want to be incorporated into what she's done. So I'll let her just talk about that.
Hi, I just realized I was not, I mean, I wasn't muted. So I'm sorry if I made any noise talking to my son or whatever.
No,
No,
we didn't hear it if you did.
Oh,
I heard-
okay.
I heard you
was like,
sneeze.
wait a minute, I thought I was muted. So I got wind from Bill of this Bedford tree policy, and and took a look at it. And so it kind of pushed it to this another month with the tree policy, because it had some good ideas. And so I sent it to everybody at the end there, for everybody to see how their permitting process was more complicated, a little bit more detailed. And I thought maybe we could incorporate some of it, especially the part on if you're cooperating with the forest management program for New York State, if you're doing that, should be incorporated, because those people who are doing sustainable forest management that the state is, involved in, should be, not having to follow along with the rules of the tree policy. And so I wanted to incorporate that into it. And then also, Bill had mentioned that shade is not mentioned in the original first page of it. Oh, I'm sorry. What is that? Oh, okay. And so I wanted to add shade in because it's obvious, but it's not mentioned how important shade is for our community in this climate that we're dealing with as it gets hotter and hotter. And that's one of the reasons why if we cut too many trees, it's just going to get hotter, because they cool us. And also, if we, in areas where they've cut trees actually produce clouds through transpiration. So if we want rain and cloud cover, we want to have tree cover. And so, reducing our tree cover is just not the way we want to go. And with all the development, we have to think about that. So if I just wanted, I also reread through it, and I noticed that in the draft 13, it says a quarter acre, that and we changed that to 1 acre. So I'm going to put that, fix that part. And also the restoration section, it says if you cut trees without a permit and over 1 acre, then you have to do restoration. I feel like, and I noticed in the Bedford document, that restoration is required even if you have a permit. It's just part of, when you're cutting trees, not leaving damaged land and problems with erosion or replanting if necessary or required. So I just wanted to make that change too. And I also feel like, well, I think it's obvious, but the whole point of this is to minimize the amount of clear cutting that's happening and developments, and to maximize shade. And I just want to make sure that's that part is mentioned. So I will put that into the editing that I'm going to be doing soon. So that's what I have to say. I just wanted to see if anybody else had any thoughts before I edit it one more time, and then we'll send it to Leanne.
Kenny has his hand up.
After I edit it, I'll send it to the group.
Ken has his hand up. So
Yeah, I just found
Okay.
3 little things I wanted to make sure to point out. Nothing expansive or, very important. But let me see. Here we are. Okay. On page 1, section 1, the final sentence looks like it's incomplete. Procedures and penalties are necessary to preserve trees and importance. There's something missing or wrong, or,
Hi, honey. Sorry, my son's leaving.
Oh, I thought you were calling me
Just
honey.
yelled
That's
by.
perfectly acceptable. So I'm not sure what you meant there, but it sort of looks incomplete and it just ends
Section
wrong.
1. What did you say?
The section 1 purpose, the final sentence, the last two words.
Are now seeing trees and importance. The town of Saugus further that the process, procedures, and penalties are necessary to preserve trees and importance. Oh,
I have no idea what "and importance" refers to. Maybe it's an earlier version or there
yeah.
was something
Okay,
else
thank
there.
you.
Okay. The second thing at some point, section 3, tree commission. It says the commissioners shall each have a 2-year term. On most boards and commissions, the terms are staggered, so you always have at least some of them continuing on who know what's been happening. You don't replace all of them at the same time. So I just wanted to mention that. That's all.
So that it's not. Yeah, that's a good point.
It's hard to do with only 3 people serving a 2-year term, but
Right,
it's
like
worth
meaning the
pointing
term
out.
is over, but usually can't they reapply or?
They can, but what if nobody wants to continue to be reappointed? Then you have nobody continuing on who knows what's been happening. So I just, something needs to be done, but I don't know what. And section 6, the appeal, it ends with if somebody is aggrieved by a decision of the tree commission, they can appeal to the town board. The town board may be too high a level to handle these because there might be, at least at some point, a lot of appeals, and the town board has a lot of other things to do. So I don't know if there's a better group to appeal to, but the town board may already have their hands full with other things and don't need this as well. So just think about it. And I'm keeping in mind that we are not passing a local law. We are making a recommendation to the town board, and they can do with it what they want, and anything they think needs to be changed or should be changed, they can do that. So we can have a document that's not perfect, but hopefully the town board would finish with a document that is more perfect than what we give them.
Well,
That's it.
we talked before about just putting this before Leanne or someone, kind of unofficially off the record, just to get feedback. So when we did bring it to the town board, that, a lot of things may be ironed out that might get it thrown out right away. We, have this unofficial way of looking at it and modifying it before it went for the town board also.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Okay, that is it for me.
Okay, Elizabeth, you have your hand up.
Yes, sorry. Yes, I picked up the same minor the typo in the first paragraph, and because it is in the first paragraph, I think it's important to clarify that, like for their protection, perhaps might correct it. That's all.
Okay.
Mary has her hand up.
Just to respond first to Ken's point about to whom the appeal should go. We discussed that at length in the subcommittee, and the question really was, we really tossed that around a lot. We came down with the recommendation that it should go to the town board. I believe that some of the other groups in town, committees in town, if there is an issue with their decision, it goes to the town board. So I think that was one of the applications that at least I thought could be applicable in this situation as well. So I just wanted to put that out there. And the question is, if not the town board, then who should get the appeal should go to whom? Yeah, I got it. All right, so I did have one comment on the section that talks about cutting down multiple trees. That's in the Town of Bedford law. and it talks about it pertains to properties of 4 acres or less. And that to properties 4 acres or less, there would be, if you're cutting down 10 trees, this happens. If you're cutting down 20 trees, this happens. Okay. My concern with that is that one of the principles that we talked about when we talked about this earlier was that we wanted to make this ordinance agreeable and not onerous on small property owners. So that's why we talked about properties 1 acre or less did not need an application or a permit, except if there was a specimen tree or a heritage tree. So if we were to go to the recommendation or the point here from the town of Bedford's ordinance, it would apply to 4 acres or less. And that to me negates the whole. Well, one of the points that I thought was important is that if you're a property owner and you have 1 acre or less, then let's not make this overly burdensome with applications and permits and fees. So
my wallet is outdated.
Hey, Steve, you're muted. Should be muted. Okay.
Can I talk?
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah. I agree with you, Mary, on that. And I discussed it with Bill and Leslie, and that's why I didn't send it to the rest of the group, that section, because it's Bedford's tree policy is stronger and stricter because of that. Because you're only allowed to cut 10 if you cut more than 10 trees in 4 acres, then you have to get a permit. Whereas let's say you're going to cut 10 trees in 1 acre, you still would have to get a permit in Bedford. So, in less than 4 acres, they said. So it's just, I think it would just complicate things if we incorporated that part of it. So I kind of just left it out because I decided that it's not really what we want to do right now, even though I feel like our tree policy is pretty weak compared to a lot of other towns, but I mean, we're going this way for now. And if we want to strengthen it later to protect other, trees, then we can talk about that. But this is, yeah. I think the best part of the Bedford for us is their permit, the specifics on the permit application, and that was the part I wanted to incorporate. I think that we should incorporate it, but if anybody else thinks there's any other part of it that
I thought that's where you were aiming at anyway, an improvement in the application process, and
yeah,
the others weren't really relevant.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
The other issue that was raised by the town of Bedford was when the permit should expire. Their expiration, tree removal permit shall expire 24 months after it's granted. That's something we did not discuss, and I don't know if you want to raise it now or if you want to just leave it out because it's not in there now. But I just
we could incorporate that. I think that sounds reasonable.
I'm just wondering why 24 months, why not a year? I don't know what the background on that is, why 24 months as opposed to 18 months or some other length of time.
I don't know.
Any other comment? So do you want to incorporate that and then we'll send it on to Leanne?
I'll incorporate it and just send it to the tree committee. If you want me to, I can send it to everybody to look at, or I'll just send it to tree committee, make sure that the typos are all good and everything looks right before I send it to them. And so we just send it to Leanne as a group.
And this is like off the record, not off the record, but just as, okay, just give us a take on this and see where you think that it might, have resistance, and what might we do to make it more likely to pass once it gets there. Just, she's got a lot of experience on the town board, and a lot of things have come before her, we look at this with a certain eye, but it's going to go there and she's going to have a different eye and it's going to have to be approved by the town board. So having that eye on it, would give us guidance in how it might better be,
And
passed.
you think her eye is like to do it through her is better than just if let's just send it to the town board and get all of their responses, including Leanne's.
Well, okay. That's up
Well,
to
just
you.
throwing that out there.
That's my take on it. It's just a suggestion. You
Okay.
guys worked on this, you did this. It's just my take. You can either take the suggestion or not. If you want to send it to everybody, that's fine. I don't know, Bill, what do you think about that? I mean, do you want to send it to them unofficially? Say, okay, here's our idea. We're not going to present this to you officially right now, but why don't you comment on this? Is that what you want to do?
I think sending it to Leanne's a pretty good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with sending it to Leanne just to get some informal feedback.
Okay.
I think it would be more productive than sending it to everyone on the town board at this point, but that's just my opinion.
It's going to be a tough sell in any case. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but involving the departments, which they're already having trouble staffing and things like that. That kind of, it's not that they may not agree with the feel of it and what it's trying to accomplish, but the logistics of it may be difficult for them to approve because they're already stretched for department. There's a big change in the buildings department now. So
Yeah, I was going to, actually, I had talked to Mary a little bit about this too. And maybe Leanne will feel like it. I don't know. But normally, I mean, other organizations I've been involved in, you staff it with everybody, kind of like the DWSP2, you staff it with all the stakeholders first. And one of the stakeholders would be the building department because is that the sun shining through there?
yeah, I can't. Too much sun.
So I don't know. I mean, you could do that first, or you could let Leanne suggest it, or maybe she'll say not to. I don't know if she agrees with it, but certainly they could give you some input about would it come with a recommendation that we hire more inspectors, if it can't be enforced with current staff? I don't know.
I mean, it just depends on how it goes, how many people are developing over an acre. It might not be that many applicants.
Okay.
Right. It doesn't seem like there'd be that much people involved. Maybe it's, a dozen a year or something like that, and they could handle it.
All right.
Well, I wonder how you'd find that out. I don't know. I guess there's no database for how many people are cutting down trees.
No.
Because that would be a big thing. If you went to them and said, this is going to be 12 people a year, then the staffing problem wouldn't be as great. But if it's 120 people a year, they're going to have a hard time dealing with all that.
Well, I feel like it's kind of like trial. We would have to do it by trial. Like just if it was passed and accepted, then we'll just see how many people are needed here.
In terms of the planning board, isn't most residential zoning now 2 acres throughout the town? I don't
Yes.
know how many, if you're allowed to build, let's say people are clearing and want to put a house up, how many are they allowed to do it on what acre?
Right. That's a point. That's a point.
It's almost to me the acreage that really would be pulling in a lot of people would be a 2-acre lot. And that's something, as Bill said, that the planning board could give you feedback on. Just a thought.
The other point on that is that what about the property owners who really who have an acre or less? They're part of this as well. And so it's not just for new builders. It would be,
Right,
we talked about areas in town like Berkeley Heights where there's maybe less than even an acre.
right.
So
But if you're building a new house, that's where you're going to start to see a lot of trees come down.
Right.
So I think in some way you got to incorporate those people buying a 2 acre or more and putting up a new building. That's where you're going to really get hit by trees being taken down.
Yeah.
So if it's 2 acres or less, it incorporates everybody.
But also
Well,
it depends
no,
on whether it's a forested land or not. I mean, is it a forested land? Does
Well,
it
that goes with the
canopy?
definition of forested land.
Yeah. So you could be 4 acres and it could have no tree canopy cover, less than 10%. So that's the whole different scenario.
Yes, Nicole.
I'm not sure I understand what Mike is saying, but I mean, we have, if you're going to cut more than 1 acre, you will have to apply for a permit. If you're going to cut less than 1 acre, you don't, unless you're going to cut a heritage tree or a specimen tree,
Yeah.
which means they have to be over 18 inches in diameter, which is going to be a rare occurrence because those are just the biggest of the big trees.
Okay, so actually 2 acres automatically, you got to go to a permit. So it's covered.
Yeah, it's covered.
Okay.
Elizabeth, you have your hand up? You're muted, Elizabeth. You're muted, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, you're muted.
Yes. Initially, when I read the Bedford ordinance, I thought to make it stricter might make it more difficult to have the ordinance passed. But I don't know the pros and cons of that. It seems as though it would be an uphill road anyway to get the ordinance passed, even if we have supportive town board members. So I don't know. What is your take on that?
I think you're right. I think it more strict, but I don't think Nicole is proposing making it more strict.
No.
Okay.
No, the tree committee is proposing to make it less strict. I mean, my personal opinion, I'm fine with it being more strict, but we kind of agreed as a group that it's not really, we don't want to start off with a really strict, because we want it to be more likely that would pass. With a really strict one, it's going to be hard to pass. But
it's on 9G between
Steve.
But I mean, if we started off with a strict and it went to the town board, it would just cause a lot of
yes,
resistance, I think.
be there.
It might even have resistance with it not being strict. I mean, it's a controversial topic.
So what this when we started this, like
I can't be there.
we wanted to set it up for the Tree City needed an ordinance.
Yes.
So there's 2 actual reasons for this. One, to qualify Saugerties as a tree city, and 2, to limit the clear cutting of trees.
Yeah.
So, what is the level if you have to cut this back a little bit? No pun intended. To at least qualify it for the Tree City, is that a consideration? I mean, if it's even
Well, you have to have a tree policy, which is, I can tell you what's needed for
there
a
are
tree
also
policy.
there are
This is what is needed for Tree City USA. Assign authority over public trees, such as a tree department, a tree board, and specific staff person, and provide clear guidance for planting, maintaining, and removing trees from streets, parks, and other public spaces. The issue with us is the public spaces. Yeah, so if the weakest tree policy that could ever be would be just dealing with our public spaces, like the parks and such.
Mhm.
But we felt like, the street trees and parks, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's there's not much
Right. I'm just pointing up that,
relevant.
that there's a consideration. There's two considerations here.
Yeah,
The strength
exactly.
of the
I think Saugerties wants to be a Tree City USA.
right. Well, right. But
So the goal is that, and we'll see how this goes. I mean, if we get enough support for this, we could. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense considering the development that's happening these days. We'll see.
okay. So are there any other questions, comments? So you want to make those changes and then we'll send it on to Leanne and see what
Yes,
she
Okay.
says. Okay.
When you send it to Leanne, I would encourage you make those 2 points that Skip made about the reasons for doing it.
Okay.
It's easy
And,
to
I mean-
forget about the Tree City USA thing.
Right. I mean, I don't know what it would change if they wanted changes and, you could get one and not the other. Would you accept that? It just reminded me that the reason, one of the original reasons was to qualify as a tree city. And that in and of itself is important, not as important as to try to cut down, clear cutting trees for sure. But
Limit
it
tree.
is also a goal. So just bringing that up as a parameter in this discussion. Mary?
Yeah, just a quick point. When the group started talking about this, we originally talked about a policy. And we did determine, as we talked about it, that if we were going to save the forests and prevent the clear cutting, we really should have, it should be an ordinance. It should have the force of law. So we went from a tree policy to an ordinance just for that reason. And, from my point of view, they're two completely different things. A Tree City USA designation is one thing, and it's a good thing, but having an ordinance that protects our forests and protects our land and particularly our forested areas, that's a whole other thing. So I see them as two completely different objectives and different documents, really.
Yeah, I didn't realize the difference actually, Mary. So thank you. I was just calling it a policy because I don't know. I just don't know those terms. But okay.
Any other comments? Okay, so go for it.
Okay.
What do we got? Okay, we're at announcements.
Sorry,
Repair Cafe.
when would be a good time for me to ask a couple quick questions?
You could ask them now, Claudia.
Thank you. May we get a copy of Stephen's reports, please?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the other one is, I was wondering if you've had any discussion on the changes in the New York climate law, CPA changes, and have you made any adjustments in relation to that?
Well, yes. I mean, not relative to BESS, but relative to our CCAP. It's really disappointing, frankly.
Uh-huh.
So Mary can speak to that.
I meant in general, thank you.
Yeah, just one big issue became when we started with the Community Climate Action Plan, we were advised by the county and DEC folks to align the goals for reduction in emissions along the state lines. And our original draft talked about reducing greenhouse gas emissions by, was it 40% by 2030? Yeah, and then so much by 2040 and then 2050. So we were aligning the town of Saugerties, the task force was aligning the reduction goals for the town with the state. Given what's going on with the state, and given what the task force determined is the really huge challenge to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, let's say in transportation, which is one of the largest by 2030, was just so unrealistic and so undoable. So that factor plus what the state was doing in reducing their goals, it did influence the outcome of the Community Climate Action Plan.
So you've adjusted the community climate action plan for Saugerties?
Pardon me?
My understanding. So what adjustment have there been adjustments made within Saugerties in relation to that?
The answer is not yet. Well, 2 points. One, the town did not have a community climate action plan. We did not have one in the town. We did have a climate action plan for government facilities that covered what the government is doing to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions. The town has that plan and has been working on it, and I think is doing a really good job in terms of actions to reduce emissions. But the town never had, does not have, and unless this community climate action plan that's going for approval comes into, if the town approves it, then we will have one. But does that answer your question, Claudia?
So were in the plan that's submitted for approval, were there adjustments made relative to that change?
Relative to what?
To the state changes in goals.
Yeah, it was, yes, we had originally aligned the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions for the town with what the state was planning to do, and we changed it.
Okay.
Yeah, we changed it. The climate action plan that's going before the town board, the community climate action plan that's going before the town board, is not aligning the reductions for the town with what the state is planning for the state.
It's not aligned.
It's not aligned. Nope.
Got it.
No. The state is looking to reduce emissions by 2030. We're in 2026. The task force thought that was really unrealistic to try and do any reductions in emissions by 2030. So the first goal year for the town will be 2035. The plan calls for a certain amount of reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2035, and not 30. So that's one real difference from what the state is looking at.
Thank you. I understand.
Mike?
I think in terms of Claudia's question, why are we going to put those Stephen's work on our website?
Yeah, it's you know.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily going to Claudia. It'll go to the public.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I just want to emphasize.
I mean, Claudia, did you get our meeting announcement?
Yeah.
Not personally, no.
Okay. All right.
Okay, well, this will be on the CAC website. So you can get those two papers there.
Is there a date for that?
As soon as we can get it up there. Right?
Okay.
It's almost immediate.
Okay.
Yeah, it just has to go to Mike Campbell. If Stephen just wants to send it to Mike Campbell, he gets it on pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I would say by early next week. The weekend is coming, so.
Right. So you should be able to see it next week.
Okay, I will look for it.
Okay, great.
Any other questions? We're going to have announcements. How about Linda? You want to talk about the Repair Cafe?
Sure, we had a great day. Leslie's not here, but I'd like to thank her again. She ended up being one of our volunteers. We had 70 people. Our top so far was 80, so it was a pretty big crowd. And we had 17 fixers. We had 8 volunteers. I can't tell you the number of different items that we took care of and had a really good day. So we fixed 83 items and sent 17 home with instructions and how to possibly find parts, replacements, and keep those from going into the landfill. So we did a lot of hemming of clothes. We have to streamline that because we kept our sewing people busy for 4 hours straight. So, oh, and we added a guitar fixer. And the nice thing about him was if he wasn't fixing, he was playing. So it was just a delightful day.
Great. Who was that?
Uh, you're not going to believe his name.
Try me.
James Dean Conklin. And when I first heard the name, I said, you've got to, I called him. I said, you've got to, that can't be an accidental name. He said, no, my parents were fans.
Yeah.
So,
So are
yeah.
there
But
any other?
any questions, thoughts?
Congratulations, Linda. It sounds like a
Thanks for
great.
doing it, Linda.
Well done.
Not only that, it was just it's really a plain good time. Our next one is October 3rd. So we're doing them 3 times a year. And Bill, I will send you a copy. I'll make up a report and I can send it to everybody else here as well. And I'll send it to Bill so he can share it with the town board.
I sure will. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And keep the documentation for the CSC.
Oh, please. I got my folders all.
Got it all. Good for
Yeah,
you,
I
Linda.
did a
You'll
lot
need
of data, collection and yeah, figured out we've worked on over 700 items since we started 3 years ago.
fantastic.
So it's been really cool.
Okay, and thank you for, working with Evelyn. That sounds like she sounds like a great person to work with. So
We're going to be busy.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's really pretty straightforward. As she said, it's a lot of finding the data, just taking the data that's already there, cutting and pasting it into ours, and then
Right.
it will get a little bit more tricky when we need to start tracking down the stuff for the greenhouse gas stuff.
Okay. Okay, Mike, you have your hand up?
No, I'm sorry. I'm lowering it.
Okay. So shall we adjourn?
Okay, I move to adjourn.
Okay. Everybody in favor?
Of course.
Okay. See you all. Thank you.
See you, guys.
Thanks, Skip.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.